power of manifesting, expand your emotions. The power of the now is not something that I even heard about. I believe that presence is the most powerful gift you can give. Hello, gorgeous, and I'm so excited to be with you here for another episode where we are going to go deep diving into understanding what it's going to take to create powerful human beings. Yeah, that's really what this whole podcast is about, right? Whether we're talking about adults or teenagers or, young children, the human being is getting stuck in places when everything else is developing and up-leveling. And we need to start catching up with the growth that's happening in the world around us. It is so important that with AI and all of the fascinating things that are going on, that we catch up in our emotional, intelligent development. And it's going to take some very courageous people to have a look at the systems that are running life on planet Earth, right? And start speaking up against some very fundamental issues. On today's podcast, I want to really explore the power of the now, something that I wish somebody would have given me access to sooner. Now, when we talk about the power of the now, it sounds like some mystical, magical thing that none of us can really understand, right? Because we're either living in the past or we're living in the future. So I want you to think about, a horizontal plane of awareness, which is past, present, and future. And then there's the vertical plane of consciousness, which is here and now, right? This is where the power is. This is where you can access the magician consciousness, the power of manifesting, the ability to connect with people you love and expand your emotions, expand your awareness, expand your point of view. That can only happen in the now. In the horizontal plane, we can look at the past, deal with the past, heal the past, and move on so that we don't create what was in the past in the future. But what actually disrupts that pattern of creating what was in the past in the future is by understanding how to operate in the vertical plane of consciousness, in the power of the now, in your higher self, connected to your essence, connected to your power, and grounded, right? Why are these type of topics getting more and more important? As all of us know, we have rising depression, suicide, violence, in cultures where, there is everything that people could wish for, right? Like you could say you have a running water, electricity, the basics, what, humans need to function on a high level, like more than the basics, in fact, right? If you have a computer, if you have a mobile phone, if you're able to go to a fridge and switch on a light and just basically live a standard of life that many people are not living, we need to be conscious that is, part of a very privileged part of society. And I believe that in those societies, in the privileged societies, we need to really start working on making sure that we are not allowing this comfortableness with everything to kind of get us away from working on the essence of who we truly are. One of the reasons why this happens so strongly is because education of the mind is promoted as the ultimate level of education, right? Learn how to read, learn how to write, learn maths, learn science, learn biology, pass exams, study, do well at school. Whereas this is helpful, and I think that many people, have that talent and will live out their life using that part of their wisdom. We need to start educating people about their energy, about their emotions, about how to get the most out of the precious time that we have here on planet Earth. Our time here is the only thing that's not infinite, that's not limitless, right? We came into this world with nothing. We're going to leave with nothing. We don't know if we have one day, if we have 20 years, if we have 100 years. Nobody knows, right? So when you start understanding that teaching people how to live in the present moment and get the most out of every single, not just day of their life, but literally every single minute of their life, we are going to have a new generation of people, right, that are not just caught up in thinking that the only thing that's important is to go after things, right? Because that's when you're in that mindset of achievement, of accomplishment, which is a great thing to be. However, what about the mindset of experiencing life? Yeah, of enjoying the moment, of being able to connect with nature, with others, with yourself in a profound and powerful way. What about the education of teaching people how to understand that thoughts become things, and how it is important to really observe your thoughts, become aware of what you're thinking, right? Some of those thoughts are going to need to be alchemized, transformed, because thoughts also become emotions, right? So if you have a lot of negative thoughts, they turn into a lot of negative emotions. And if you have a lot of negative emotions and a lot of negative thoughts, you start to take a lot of negative actions, right? So we really need to understand the source, go to the source of how do we empower humans to be better. There needs to be an awareness, an education, right? A study where you go every day and you go to class and you learn about the power of your mind. You learn about the power of your mind over your emotions, yeah? And about how to manage these different emotions, right? You could call some of these emotions, they're even positive emotions, right? Giving space for that, honoring that, allowing more of that, right? So we can talk a lot about how to alchemize and change negative emotions, but I also want to talk about embracing, honoring, and allowing positive emotions, right? Ecstasy, bliss, joy, playfulness, connecting with others in a deep and sincere way that elevates yourself and the world around you. Now, the power of the now is not something that I even heard about before my first ever meditation. Nobody spoke to me about it. It was not part of my language. And we're talking 30 years ago. That's how long I've been on this personal growth path and, teaching and inspiring others. I've been doing that for over 25 years because after I'd worked on myself, I knew that what I discovered needed to be shared with others, right? So in my first ever meditation, I started to understand the power of having a still mind, and how when my mind became still, I was able to access in the present moment parts of myself that you could say are hidden, get blocked from when you're in your head, just thinking. Yeah, when you're in that non-stop thinking, feeling, doing mode, right? And you're not able to turn that off, you will not be able to access certain levels of your consciousness, right? So inside of what I'm proposing is that adults start to learn the power of the now. So if you're listening to this podcast, okay, I want to, with all the passion, come through the screen and ask you to start being an advocate, a leader, a change maker, a person that understands that when we live in the past, with the trauma or pain or even joy of the past, right? Or live in the future, the fear of the future, the concerns, or even the excitement of the future, we are missing out on the most precious and beautiful part of our lives, which is here and now on what I call the vertical plane of consciousness. This is where you bring what they call like heaven onto earth. For me, that simply means bringing in your divine essence to be able to participate with more elevated experience of yourself in this human body. Yes, in the vertical plane, you will learn to ground, to be grounded. So you feel connected to your body, connected to planet Earth, connected to the material world, while still playing in the spiritual world dimension. Okay? So imagine that the body is a container for something, and that something is our spirit, our essence. So before, when I said you come, and you'll hear me say this over and over, maybe in every single podcast you're going to listen. Yeah, you came into this world with nothing, you're going to leave with nothing. So the spirit, the soul, the essence of self is on a journey. Yes, was there a past life? It doesn't matter. You're here now. Everybody can agree to one truth. At some point, this body will be left. So something, the spirit, the essence of the human will leave the body and continue their journey. Okay? So in what I'm proposing is that we start learning about who we truly are in the core. And education, the standard education that you learn at school, doesn't even begin to try to ask those questions, right? And certainly not at an early enough age. So if you happen to, study philosophy and can do later on in university some deeper questioning of, who are we and what's going on here, that's great. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about giving access by being the example, right? By being the example. That's how I learned about the power of the now. It wasn't through a book. Yeah. It wasn't me reading about it and understanding it. It was being around the vibrational frequency, of teachers and communities where peace, centeredness, groundedness, being proactive in expanding how you thought about yourself, how you interacted with the world was on top priority, right? And so when I did my deep dive over 5 years studying human consciousness from the age of 22 years old, right? Spending hours and hours hacking my system to understand this question, fundamental question, who am I, right? The power of the now is all about getting in touch with your true self, right? And as we continue together on our journey on this podcast, I'm super happy to break down the layers so that you can deeper understand this message. There was a time where every single one of us were fully connected to our essence of pure, unconditional love. Then the society started teaching us, right, how to talk, how to walk, how to think, how to act, how to feel, what to do, what not to do, what's correct, what isn't correct, right? And as we started learning all of that stuff, we started to move away from, let's call it, this core essence of self, right? And of course, as we, lived in this human body, there's a lot of doing that is considered, the highest level of what you can do while you're here on planet, right? First of all, we needed to survive. So we were making fire, chopping wood, getting meat, this and that. So there was a lot of doing. And as we continue to evolve, we started to find different ways of doing, okay? And so part of what is the problem is that we've been programmed to think that everything that we've been taught about the society, how the society works, what is right, what is wrong, should not be questioned. Yeah. This is how we do things. Join or be an outcast. Okay? This is how sex works. This is how this works. This is how that works. This is how money works. This is how we play the game, and you're either with us playing the game as you've been instructed to, whether you've been instructed in the Italian way of life or the German way of life or the Japanese way of life or the American way of life, or the Catholic way of life, the Buddhist way of life. Yeah. So we have these conditionings about how we relate to the question, who am I? But what I can tell you, for myself, I hadn't even asked the question before I had what I call an awakening, right? That made me understand that this question, who am I, really started to make me be able to live life on planet Earth with more grace, with more beauty, with more joy, with more laughter, with more miracles, like I was able to create outside of the box that my society had told me, this is your place in the world, Mahima. Yeah, this is your place in the world. You are born in Africa with poverty, right? Poverty is everywhere, and poverty mindset gets handed over, right? And that poverty mindset is hey, just be happy for whatever you have. If you can just get a job and get a man, have some kids, stay healthy, that's it. So from where I was conditioned, right, it wasn't about reaching for the further star, seeing how far you could go with your energy, with your ideas, with your talent, right? Especially when you have to leave school early. Some of you know my story. I had to leave school, at the age of 16 and a half, 17, yeah, because of issues around sexual abuse with my stepfather. So it was very important for me to step out of that space and get out of there. And so that meant leaving school behind and leaving school early, right? And couple that leaving school early with poverty mindset, there is no way that I should be a successful 7-figure entrepreneur, yes, that is living in one of the most beautiful countries in the world, which is Switzerland, right? And living this tremendous life that I'm living. And I know for a fact that if I had not got my energetics education and started to understand concepts like the power of the now that give me access to questions like, who am I? So that I can bring my essence, full essence, into my body, into this moment where I can make choices, new choices, and not conditioned choices based on what my society told me is right or wrong, or, this is how we do things, that I could start to be a free thinker. Yeah, I could think outside of what I'd been taught and question it. And as I started to question these things, I became more and hang around with people that were showing me how to breathe and meditate. Yeah, how to change my energetic frequency so that I could radiate light, love, and peace into the world instead of anger, frustration, limitation, smallness, right? So as I hung out with these amazing mentors that helped me started to open my positive frequency. Yeah, I call it connecting to yourself. Yeah, your most powerful and beautiful self, the real you, the real you. And this real you is something that we all share as a human race. So every single person, however mad or crazy or terrible or whatever they are, they weren't born that way, right? You guys, you would agree with that, right? That a baby doesn't come into the world evil. Like, I don't believe that. A baby is a blank canvas of pure unconditional love. And then the conditioning, depending on the nurturing and the conditioning, that is where, the things start to form. Opinions, ways of acting, ways of operating. Depending on what has happened to that child, they will form their character and build their story, right? Now, can it be that you come with certain traits into the world, like, for example, you sleep more peacefully as a baby and someone else might scream a lot more? Yes, I do believe that there are certain things that maybe the spirit moves forward with. However, to claim, right, that like the purest essence form of human can be in some way evil or nasty or ugly is literally insane. Okay, so it's pure unconditional love that you came into this world as. Okay, and as you continue to investigate into the question, who am I, you return back, you pull your energy out of what I call fragmentation, and you start to come back into the vertical plane of consciousness, the power of the now, right? Where you're able to breathe and allow stillness. Yes? Able to breathe and release, negativity, release identification with the ego mind, release stories of limitation, and you're able to start embracing thinking and operating from your truest self. And this transformation from, let's say, being a talking head that's fragmented and uncentered and ungrounded, this transformation into a more powerful, if I can say, maybe spiritual is a word that can be used, vibrationally elevated leader, change maker, human being, because I believe we're all here to lead somebody, right? Whether it's leading your children by being the best example that you can be, whether it's leading your team members by showing up with a positive frequency. Inside of the power of the now is where all the magic can be found. Yeah. What you're looking for can't be found in the past. Yeah. When you're looking for transformation and changing your life, changing your way of thinking, having some form of some form of a new vibrational frequency coming in, that can only happen here and now. Yes. The willingness to enter into the first step of consciousness, which is awareness, becoming self-aware, right? So that's the first step of how do I get into the power of the now, Mahima? You first need to become aware of where your energy, your thoughts are going. Yeah, where your emotions are carrying you and taking you, right? Where what actions are coming from a place of fragmentation, or are these actions coming from a place of empowerment, of light? So really start to understand that to get into the power of the now, you first need to start observing yourself. You need to start becoming aware. Now, I talked before at the beginning of this journey about how I want kids to be taught this from a young age, right? So when I started to meditate, literally sit, close my eyes, breathe, and observe myself. One of the first things that really surprised me was how safe, loving, kind, peaceful, and amazing I felt when I let go of my ego, right? Ego mind that was constantly trying to take me away from myself, right? So when I could release that and actually feel myself, I felt whole and complete, not broken. Don't need to fix myself. Don't need to look for something outside of myself. I started to feel an inner peace, a love and a joy that is not dependent on external circumstances, events, or people. And that's another thing you guys will hear me say probably every podcast that we are going to be together on, because it is so empowering that as leaders, yes, as change makers, as people that want the world to be a better place, that we truly understand and start living and embodying these concepts, right? Not just talking about them, not just enjoying them for a second, but literally living inside of these, I call them teachings, ideas, and so forth, right? So the power of connecting in the present moment to another part of you, right? A part that needs to be experienced in order to be understood. Yes? So of course, when I talk about connecting to your spirit, connecting to the light inside of you, connecting to all of this beauty, right? It might not mean anything until you've experienced it. And that's why, I want to invite you to the experience. I have activations, meditations, I do events where you can experience these things. I love when I work together with people and they say, I didn't even know this about myself. I've never experienced this before. I didn't know that this was inside of me. And that's exactly what happened to me. And that's why I'm so passionate about sharing it with other people, because I was the same. It's like you're living in a one-bedroomed home, okay? Which is this. Yeah, you're living in a one-bedroom home, only to discover one day that when you open that door of that one-bedroomed place where you've been living, for me in that case 22 years, there is not just a villa or palace outside of that one bed. There's like planets and moons and dimensions. There's a whole universe of beauty out there, right? So that's kind of what coming home to yourself feels like. It feels like a discovery of a whole new level of operating within yourself. And again, I want more people to experience this. I want more leaders to access the power of the now, transformational energy through becoming self-aware, seeing how am I really operating on a day-to-day basis, right? Moment-to-moment basis. What are my thoughts, right? So as you start with practices like meditation, self-awareness, you start to observe, ooh, this is where my mind goes. It goes here, it goes there, it goes there, right? This is what I'm busy with. And you start to realize how much busyness we have with things we cannot change or influence. Yeah, worrying about things that there's no point in worrying. It will end up how it will end up, right? So we spend a lot of energy on things that we don't need to spend energy on. So I think for me, that was another wow, this power of the now saves energy, right? So all the burnout, breakdown, all the things that happen to people where they feel like they're losing energy, right? You start practicing and understanding how to be more present in the moment, and you will start to restore. Yeah, because the energy that is accessible to each person when they connect to their essence is limitless. Yeah, it's limitless. Okay? It is so powerful. And of course, then directing this energy, right? So look, I want to say a lot, but I know we don't, it's just a short podcast. So let me keep the context of power of the now. Who am I? So the first step is become aware. The second step is to ask the question, yes, who am I? When I started doing this, when I started in my practice of self-awareness and asking myself, who am I? The questions brought me back. Yes, the question brought me back into the power of the now. Because the question, who am I, can start with answers like, I'm not my body, I'm not my name, I'm not my story, I'm not my money, I'm not my house, right? And the reason I'm saying I'm not those things is because, remember, I told you before, you came in with nothing, you're going to leave with nothing, and you have no idea about how much time you have. So when you ask the question, who am I, it starts to draw you back into the reality of who you truly are. A soul, a spirit, an essence in this human form for a temporary amount of time. Yes, when you ask the question, who am I, you start to understand that it's important to understand who you are spiritually and not just, or energetically, if you prefer that word, as opposed to who am I? Am I a doctor? Am I a lawyer? Am I yeah, that's only one part of what we taught to think about. But the most important part is who am I spiritually, right? So you ask the question, who am I? Once you ask this question, you start to connect to your essence. You connect back to your essence. And that is what brings you into the power of the now, right? Essence being your soul, your higher self, your divine self, your most powerful self, right? And this essence of self, what comes with that, the fragrance of that, is more silent mind. Yeah. The emotions feel like you're not going on a roller coaster. You start to feel you're able to alchemize your emotions and feel more grounded and balanced. You start to be able to appreciate each moment with what it is and what it is unfolding, right? This return back home, return back to essence is carrying the fragrance of that power of the now, right? And that is today what I wanted to share with you all. Yes, tell me what has touched you. Please write in the comments what is moving you. Yes, tell me if you understand the importance of not just learning to live in the power of the now, vertical plane of consciousness, right? But teaching others, supporting others, holding the space to invite others to truly be present with each other. I believe that presence is the most powerful gift you can give to any person on planet Earth, but it needs to start with you. Give yourself the presence of becoming self-aware. Give yourself the presence of asking the question, who am I, every single day, so you can unpack and let go of things that do not serve you, that are not your business, that don't get you anywhere, right? And lastly, connect to your spirit, your essence, your soul in the power of the now, and watch your life become more extraordinary than you could even imagine, because it's in this moment that we plant new ideas, right? It's in this moment that we disrupt negative habits, negative patterns. It's in this moment where the true power lies. What a joy to have been with you on this journey. Love, love, love. And I can't wait to read your comments. Bye. Thanks for tuning in today.